You got ghosted. I've been ghosted. We've all been there before, and it is the worst feeling that you could possibly have. However, there are some things that you can do in your sales process to minimize that as much as possible, because nobody likes it. And it may have started with your discovery call. So if you are doing those discovery calls yourself, then you may want to watch this video here where I walk through exactly how to do the best discovery call process. Now, you're past that point, you've quoted them, you've followed up with them, and you're not getting a response. I'm going to give you 3 methods that work every single time, and you need to perfect it to your business, but this will get you going down the right path. All right, number 1 is setting expectations. Now, this has to be done in the discovery call. It's the last part of the process. You have to set the expectations of when are you going to follow up with them and what is your means of communication. That is critical to this, so that way you set those expectations of, hey Steve, I'm going to follow up with you in a week. And if I don't hear from you, or they're going to say, hey, let me get back to you. How long do you need to talk about it internally before you get back to me? Oh, give me a week. All right. If I don't hear from you next Wednesday, I'm going to shoot you an email, or I'm going to give you a call. You're setting those expectations so that way they understand, like, they're not shocked when you are following up. Can they just ignore you? Absolutely. But this is at least better than just saying, hey, I'm going to shoot you over the proposal, and then we'll talk after that. And then you send them the pricing, you give them access to something, you send them a case study, you give them a demo, whatever it is in your sales process. And then you miss a point of setting that next expectation of what's going to happen. You should have reviewed the timeline in the discovery call. Now, second thing is going to be, you need to use multiple methods. Hopefully you understand what's the fastest way to get a hold of this person. Now, when you first get a potential customer to come in, what I like to do and train people to do is we want to hit them up, or at least gather relevant communication methods from them. So number 1, you've got their email. That's how they book time with you. That's how they fill out a form. You need to get their mobile number, preferably be like, hey, can I get your cell phone number in case I need to follow up with you or have any quick questions? That way you could shoot them a text. You want to send them a LinkedIn connection request even before the discovery call, even before this part of the process. As soon as you get that acceptance, you want to send them a LinkedIn connection request, so that way you can use direct LinkedIn messages as an option. So those are your main 3. You're either going to email them, you're going to call them, or you're going to send them a message on LinkedIn or on social media. You could do snail mail if you have to, but hopefully we're not getting to that point in the part of the process where they have ghosted you for 6 to 12 months and they want nothing to do with you. But you got to set up those methods. And then as you're following up with them, you need to rotate through them. So shoot them an email, like maybe that's a plan. Maybe you did say, hey, I'm going to shoot you an email next Wednesday to see if we can set up time to talk. And they say, all right, sounds good. And you send them an email and you don't hear back from them. And you've waited a couple of days. Now you can give them a phone call, either on their desk phone or their mobile. Now you can send them a message on LinkedIn. As they don't respond to you, more time goes away from the initial point of conversation. Maybe it's not that they're necessarily ignoring you, but they've just had other things come up and you want to try and stay top of mind. But regardless, you need to change it up. You can't just email them 5 times over 5 weeks and then turn to your sales boss and be like, hey dude, I've been following up with them. If it's the same method, it's no different than marketing. If I'm trying to get your attention and I just email you, but you don't ever check your email, or your email is so full that you skim through it and just respond to the important things, then I'm never going to be able to get your attention from a marketing standpoint. No different is with sales. You have to understand, they got email, they've got phone, they've got social. What is the fastest way you can get a hold of them? Make sure you connect all 3 of those so that way you can cycle through them. The last one's going to be frequency and tone. The frequency of your follow-up is, you should set the tone and say, I'm going to follow up once a week. If they don't respond to you in 3 or 4 attempts of follow-up, then you need to put time and distance between the next follow-up. That doesn't mean forget about them. That means you could put them into an automation platform and say, hey, this deal, I'm going to follow up with them in 30 days and I'm going to put them through this workflow if you're using HubSpot or something like that, or at least set a task reminder. Hey, give them a call, send them a LinkedIn message, etc. But you want to start to spread out the time frequency after you've already hit them 3, 4, 5 times over a shorter period of time. Now you're like, okay, obviously this isn't top of mind to them, or maybe you didn't get picked for the project. It's not top of mind, so I want to slow things down a little bit, understand that they've probably got other things going on, give it some breathing room, because what's the worst that's going to happen? You give them a little bit of time and they wouldn't respond to you anyways. They didn't respond to you the first few times, or maybe you get a little bit of guilt in there and you say, hey, I followed up with you 5 times. I don't want to bother you anymore. I want to let you relax or deal with whatever you're with. I'm going to hit you up in like 30 days and see if that's a better time to connect. Does that sound good? By you saying that, they may say, oh yeah, you know what? That is a better time. Yep. And then maybe you can get them booked on a meeting. The tone eventually, like, you've gone through the perfect part of the discovery call process. You followed my steps and asked the questions, and they're qualified and they're ready to do business. But they may not be qualified for you. They may not be the best fit. So don't try and sell to the unsellable. You need to look at it and say, look, I've got a lot of people that are coming through to try and use my solution, use my tools, my services, my products, etc. And maybe these people aren't the right fit, and maybe you need to stop chasing them as frequently, and you maybe need to slow it down. So you could just say, hey, look, I'm working through my pipeline. Let's say it's been 3, 4 months, 5 months, and that deal still hasn't closed. I'm going through my pipeline, just cleaning things up. I wanted to see, should I close this deal as lost, or is it something that we should follow up in the future? So you're almost saying, like, I got a lot of things going on. I'm going to back this down and put it as closed loss. And that could be the opportunity to say, actually, no, like I do have some time right now to talk about it, or this has come back up, etc. But you don't want to keep on just following up every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks. You want to change the follow-up method, change the frequency, put some time between it, and eventually just put it into an automation and say, hey, look, this deal is stalled, it's delayed, it's ghosted. I'm going to hit them up every couple months. Those follow-ups are just gonna be, hey, I want to see if you ever made a decision on that project. Very short, direct to the point, not book a meeting with me, here's my calendar, or asking them any difficult questions. And you definitely don't want to go back to the selling process of being like, hey, here's a case study, or here's something that we just did, or here's some new information. You want to stick with the closing phase. It's just stalled, delayed, and maybe they've ghosted you, and maybe it's not a right fit, but you want to put that distance between the time and the frequency and just put them into an automation. As we've got deals that delay and nurture, once it reaches a certain point, 5 months, 4 months, if I understand that from a timeline standpoint, in the initial discovery call, they're looking to make a decision here, and we haven't gotten response back from it. Either they didn't pick us and they're just ignoring us, or things came up that's more important. So I'm going to put it, instead of going to nurture, after like 4 or 5 months, I'm going to say, hey, look, that deal's closed, lost. Put them into a nurture every 6 months, or put them into a 6-month nurture to where 6 months from now they go into it, and then it's just a simple follow-up. And you never know, you could turn an unsold deal into a potential new opportunity and lead for you, but you have to put distance and time from it. And hopefully you've got enough going on in your pipeline where you're bringing new people in and you don't have to worry about every single deal closing. You've done what you can. You've hit the deliverables. You followed up when you're supposed to. You provided them with a solution. You did a good discovery call, but sometimes it's just not a right fit. But you don't want to rely on that to hit your quota. And you definitely don't want to rely on that to fill your pocketbook. So if you're still watching this, hopefully you've gotten some value out of it. The key is to fill up your pipeline. You don't want to be reliant on any single deal or any single group of deals. I've seen sales teams get destroyed. I've seen pipelines get destroyed because everybody became too complacent. They were saying like, oh, I got these 5 deals in my pipeline. I got these 25 deals in my pipeline, not focusing on pulling new people into the top of it and working them through the process. If you guys got value out of this and you think that you're going to be able to implement it and make action today, then share it with somebody else that you know. Share it with somebody in sales that is also struggling with this, or share it with your boss and say, hey, this is some good stuff. We should implement this throughout the team. If you want to listen to this in podcast format, type in Your Marketing Sucks on every major podcast platform. Subscribe, turn on notifications, hit me up on LinkedIn if you want a one-on-one conversation, and I'll see you on the next one.